Have you ever noticed that resentment is the only prison where we ourselves keep the door locked from the inside? This is one of those uncomfortable truths that almost no one likes to face, but which silently shapes how we feel, react, and even how our bodies become ill. Old grudges, hurtful words, injustices that were never repaired, all of this accumulates like an invisible weight that we carry without realizing it. And perhaps you are experiencing exactly this right now. Have you ever been through this? What you're about to discover might surprise you, because resentment isn't just a difficult emotion, it's a kind of spiritual prison that drains energy, steals peace, and keeps us trapped in the past. And even knowing this, it's common to feel that letting go of bitterness seems impossible. But stay with me until the end, because there is a key, an ancient, simple, yet profoundly transformative key. A key that, according to Jesus, wasn't given to forgive the other, but to set you free. And it is precisely this hidden key that we will begin to explore now, starting a path of understanding that can change the way you see pain, forgiveness, and your own inner freedom. And as we open this door together, it's impossible not to remember how many people carry this same weight in silence. If this topic resonates with you, leave a comment below about what has touched you the most so far. Sometimes, sharing a piece of your own experience is the first step to easing your heart. And it also helps other people going through the same thing realize they are not alone. Your participation here is what makes this channel grow and reach more people who need to hear this kind of message. When you like the video or subscribe to the channel, it's not just a quick gesture. It's a way of saying, I want to continue walking this path of reflection. I want to be part of this transformation. And that makes all the difference so that I can continue creating content that truly touches, heals, and awakens. So if anything resonated with you so far, leave a comment, like this post, subscribe, because this space only truly exists when we build it together. And with that said, let's delve deeper into this journey, because the key that can free your soul is beginning to reveal itself in a way you may never have seen before. Now I want to delve even deeper into this subject, because resentment almost never begins as something grand. It's born at the exact moment when something inside us breaks. It could be an unexpected betrayal, a word said at the wrong time, an injustice so small that no one else notices, but which for some reason pierces you like a fine cut. And it's curious how these moments are stored in the background of our emotional memory, almost as if we were trying to protect them from the world. But in reality, we are only keeping the pain alive. Have you ever felt that? That tightness in your chest, that feeling of, this shouldn't have happened to me, that silent search for answers that never come. At first, it all seems like self-protection. The hurt becomes armor, a way to ensure that no one touches that wound again. But over time, this armor weighs you down. It becomes an anchor that pulls you down, that prevents you from moving forward, that distorts your mindset and keeps you trapped in decisions that no longer make sense. It's as if resentment transforms into a kind of slow, subtle poison that you drink thinking you're defending yourself, when in reality you're sickening your own peace. And the most striking thing is how this hidden truth goes unnoticed, even by the most conscious people on their own journey. Every time we revisit the scene, we reinforce the chains. Every time we try to understand too much, we reopen the wound. It's not weakness, it's human. But there is a profound impact when we acknowledge this process, when we honestly see the beginning of this emotional prison. Because it is precisely at this point of origin that transformation begins to become possible, almost palpable, like a silent revelation that changes everything. Comment below, that makes sense to me. Now I want to delve even deeper into this subject, because resentment doesn't just stay in the mind or memory, it settles in the body silently, like an invisible weight that accumulates day after day. When you hold onto a grudge for too long, your body enters a constant state of alert, as if it were always expecting the next blow. Cortisol, the stress hormone, begins to rise without you realizing it, and this continuous increase affects your energy, your mental clarity, and even the way you perceive your own journey. Perhaps you've already experienced this firsthand. That tension in your shoulders that never goes away, even when you try to relax, that lump in your throat that appears out of nowhere, or even that tiredness that arises even after a full night's sleep, because deep down, you didn't really sleep. You lay there, replaying the scene 1,000 times in your head, imagining what you should have said, what should have happened, trying to control a past that can no longer be changed. And this endless replay has a huge impact on your body, as if each thought reopens a wound that should already be healing. Studies show that unresolved emotions, especially resentment, can intensify anxiety, worsen chronic pain, and even alter breathing patterns. The body contracts, protects itself, shuts down. It's as if each muscle carries a piece of this story that you haven't been able to let go of. And over time, this tension becomes a habit, an automatic mindset, a way of living that seems normal, until one day you realize you're losing your own vitality. Understanding this hidden truth about how resentment manifests in the body is a turning point. Because when you recognize what's happening inside you, you begin to see possibilities for transformation where before there was only accumulated pain. And it is in this space between awareness and healing that something very profound begins to reveal itself. Write this down. I'm on this journey too. Now I want to delve even deeper into this subject because there's a point in resentment that many people feel, but few can name. The moment when it ceases to be just pain and becomes a kind of attachment. It's strange to think about it this way, but the brain tries to transform the memory into protection, as if repeating the story were a way to prevent it, all from happening again. But without realizing it, this mechanism creates a silent cycle. First comes the resentment, then the attachment to what was experienced, followed by the internal narrative, that conversation you have with yourself, creating explanations, justifications, alternative scenarios, and finally victimization appears, not out of weakness, but because the mind begins to believe that this place is safer than facing the transformation. And when this cycle repeats itself many times, the brain creates something even more dangerous, an emotional dependence on pain, yes, dependence, as if suffering becomes too familiar, almost comfortable, even if it's hurting you. That's why it's so difficult to let go of someone or some situation. It's not a lack of strength nor a lack of courage. It's a mental pattern built up over time, operating behind the scenes of your decisions, influencing your worldview, and even how you react to what you're experiencing today. That's why many people feel trapped in a story that's already over, but remains present as if it happened yesterday. The narrative doesn't repeat itself because you want to suffer. It repeats itself because the brain tries to protect what it believes to be part of you. And it's at this exact point that a profound revelation emerges, something I often call the hidden truth behind resentment. Because understanding this cycle not only illuminates the origin of the pain, it opens up space for something much greater. And this is where the hidden teaching of Jesus comes in, the one that speaks not only of forgiveness, but of liberation on a level that transforms the soul and changes the entire inner journey. Comment below. That makes sense to me. Now I want to delve even deeper into this subject, because when we talk about resentment, we're not just dealing with memories and emotions. We're talking about something that directly touches vital energy, that silent force that sustains our presence in the world. Resentment creates a kind of inner stagnation, as if parts of your soul are stuck at a specific point in your history. That's why so many people describe the feeling of life being at a standstill, of not being able to move forward, as if something is always pulling them back. And in a way it is. Carrying resentment is like trying to walk with chains on your feet. You might even take a few steps, but never with the lightness, clarity, and freedom you could have. This spiritual imprisonment has nothing to do with moralism or an external demand for what you should feel. It's a natural mechanism, almost like a law of the soul. When a dense feeling accumulates for too long, it blocks the flow of energy that keeps you alive, creative, and connected. And this impacts your mindset, your decisions, and even how you see the future. Resentment binds you to the past, not because you want to stay there, but because unresolved pain creates invisible roots. It's as if each stored-up resentment occupies an internal space that should be available for the new, for the revelations that life tries to offer you, for the transformation you haven't yet experienced. And the longer you hold on to these chains, the more they drain your vitality, making everything heavier than it really needs to be. Recognizing this process is an act of courage and, at the same time, a first step towards liberation. Write this down. I'm on this journey too. Now I want to delve even deeper into this subject, because when we look at what Jesus actually taught about forgiveness, we realize that there is something much greater than a simple moral instruction. Jesus never spoke of forgiveness as a burdensome obligation, as a commandment intended to stifle human feelings. He spoke of forgiveness as a tool for liberation, as a spiritual key capable of breaking precisely those internal chains that bind the soul to the past. And that changes everything. When he said to forgive 70 times 7, he wasn't asking you to ignore the pain or pretend nothing happened. What he was trying to reveal was something else, that as long as the heart is trapped in a painful story, you don't live fully, you don't breathe fully, you don't allow yourself to receive the new. Forgiving is not releasing the other person, it's releasing yourself. This is the turning point that many people spend a lifetime without seeing, because we were taught to think of forgiveness as something we do for the other person, when in reality it is a profoundly personal, intimate act, almost an alignment of one's own energy with the truth of who we are. And it's interesting to see how this perspective dissolves the idea that forgiveness is weakness. In fact, it's a movement of inner strength, a conscious decision not to allow an old wound to continue determining your present. It's as if Jesus was saying, let go, not so that the other person is forgiven, but so that you are restored. When this understanding sets in, it changes the mindset, changes the emotional impact of memories, and opens space for real transformation, almost like a revelation that illuminates everything that was hidden behind the pain. And it is precisely at this point that the key emerges. A simple yet profound key that begins to open inner doors you may not even have known were locked. Comment below. That makes sense to me. Now I want to delve even deeper into this subject. Because when we talk about the hidden key that Jesus left, we're not entering into an abstract concept distant from real life. We're talking about something extremely practical, something that can be applied even today, at this very moment. Liberating forgiveness begins with a very specific internal movement, separating the person from the act. This doesn't mean justifying what happened, nor diminishing the pain you felt, but recognizing that the other person's behavior stemmed from an internal world that is not yours, a world full of limitations, fears, traumas, and unresolved decisions. When you understand this, even subtly, something changes, because it becomes clear that the suffering of others often spilled over onto you, not because you deserved it, but because it was what that person had to offer at that stage of their own journey. And this doesn't erase the pain, but it opens up space to see the hidden truth of human behavior. No one hurts from a healthy place. Understanding the suffering that generated the behavior is not an act of naive kindness, but of emotional freedom, because it removes you from the position of carrying guilt that was never yours. Then comes the choice. And here's the most transformative part. Letting go of the repeated story. Not the memory, not the learning, but the narrative you mentally relive as if it were an endless movie. This is the heaviest chain of all. With each repetition, you reinforce the pain. With each decision not to repeat, you weaken the bond of resentment. And this choice, however simple it may seem, has a gigantic impact. A first step you can take today is this. Take the scene that hurts you the most and replace the question, why did they do this to me, with what within them led to this behavior. This change of perspective doesn't erase the past, but it opens a gap where light can enter. It is in this small shift that liberating forgiveness begins to take shape, returning to your heart the space that pain had been occupying. Write this down. I'm on this journey too. Now I want to delve even deeper into this subject because there's an essential point that many people confuse when talking about forgiveness, and this confusion ends up creating even more pain. Letting go doesn't mean forgetting. Letting go doesn't mean trusting again. and much less does it mean accepting abuse or allowing someone to cross boundaries that should have been protected long ago. Forgiveness doesn't put you back in the places where you were hurt. It only removes you from the internal place where that wound remains alive. This is where the transformation becomes clear. Forgiveness is emotional hygiene. Just as you take a shower to cleanse your body, you release resentment to cleanse your soul. Not because the other person deserves this cleansing, but because you deserve to breathe lightly again. And when you understand this, the idea of forgiveness ceases to seem like a moral burden and becomes a practice of self-care, almost like opening the windows of a room that has been closed for too long. Energy begins to circulate again. The mindset expands. The feeling of heaviness diminishes. And it's important to say in all sincerity, you don't forgive because the other person deserves it. You forgive because you deserve peace. This phrase is simple, but it carries a hidden truth that completely changes how you see your own decisions. Forgiving doesn't erase what happened. It doesn't rewrite history, and it doesn't excuse the other person's behavior. What forgiveness does is give you back the power to no longer carry what should have already been left behind. Ultimately, the inner process of forgiveness is like reorganizing an emotional room full of piled-up objects. Every hurt, every memory, every unspoken phrase takes up space, and when you start putting things in their place, you realize there was much more life waiting there than you imagined. Liberation doesn't come from forgetting, but from understanding that pain no longer needs to dominate your journey. It can exist, but it doesn't have to control your future. Comment below. That makes sense to me. It's curious how, even after feeling the signs of this liberation in body and soul, many of us remain trapped by invisible chains, not because they are strong, but because we've become accustomed to living with them. Resentment works exactly like that, a prison that doesn't lock the door, but makes you believe you can't get out. And when you realize this, something inside you shifts, as if a hidden truth finally comes to light. The key was always in your hand, but the old mindset made you believe that letting go meant losing something. In reality, it means recovering everything that was stifled: peace, energy, authenticity. This journey of transformation begins when you ask yourself a simple yet powerful question. What are you still carrying that's ready to be let go of? Sometimes it's a word that's stuck in your throat, an unfair behavior, a memory that still hurts. And it's not about minimizing any of that. The pain was real, the impact was real, but remaining attached to it is also a decision, even if unconscious. And when you admit that, you open space for a kind of renewal that depends on no one but yourself. It's almost like being reborn from within, realizing that there's a whole life waiting for the moment you decide to let the past rest. Now, I want to delve even deeper into this subject because there's an essential detail about this letting go that often goes unnoticed, but that changes everything when you see it clearly. If you've made it this far, it's because some part of this conversation resonated with you, and that says a lot about your own journey. So, before you go on with your day, let me ask you something very simple and sincere. If this video brought you clarity, lightness, or that feeling of, I needed to hear this today, take this moment and subscribe to the channel. That way you can continue walking with me in these dialogues that deep down everyone misses having. And also leave a like, not as an automatic gesture, but as a way to show that this exchange made sense. This helps the video reach those who might need exactly this message right now. Oh, and since you stayed until the end, write in the comments. This message was for me. It's your way of making your presence felt, and at the same time, acknowledging that you deserve the liberation we've been talking about. And if you want to delve deeper into this topic, there's a video over here that complements all of this in an even more profound way. Click and continue reading there.